In life, we often hear about fathers who provide, protect, and sacrifice. But what happens when a father's love must fight against science itself? What happens when the world tells him his child will never hear a sound, never live a normal life, and he refuses to accept it? This is the story of Mark, a man whose love and persistence not only changed his son's destiny, but touched the lives of thousands. Mark was a man admired by many. He was a successful businessman, known for his determination and sharp mind. He had a beautiful wife, a warm home, and the respect of his peers. Yet there was one dream unfulfilled. For many years, they held on to a quiet hope. Their journey was a story of patience and faith. Finally, a miracle arrived, and their joy was beyond words. They painted the nursery, chose names, and dreamed of lullabies echoing through the house. But during a routine checkup, the doctor's face grew grim. He told them their baby would be born without the ability to hear. Mark's wife collapsed in tears. Mark sat frozen, his vision of a perfect family shattered in an instant. The following months were filled with sorrow. Friends tried to console them, but some suggested preparing for a life of limitation. Doctors advised them to lower their expectations. At night, Mark's wife whispered, "What kind of life will our child have?" Her voice trembled with fear, but Mark could not surrender. He promised himself that if his son could not hear, he would find another way to reach him. Mark buried himself in medical books and journals. He read about neurology, sensory therapy, and assistive devices. He was not a doctor, but he was a father, and fathers who refuse to quit can sometimes move mountains. When baby David was born, reality struck harder than any book could have prepared them for. The room was filled with silence where cries should have been. The nurses confirmed it. David could not hear. Mark held his son close, joy and despair colliding in his chest. He whispered stories at night, though he knew his son could not hear a single word. His wife, exhausted and broken, sometimes asked, "Are we only chasing an impossible dream?" Mark himself doubted. He feared that love would not be enough. He feared that his son would grow up trapped in silence, and that he would fail him. One evening, a close friend came to visit, an engineer who admired Mark's devotion. "If anyone can create a bridge between your son and the world of sound, it will be us," he said. "Let me help." They began experimenting with devices. Nights ended in failure, sparks flying, wires scattered across the floor. Once, after a device burned out, Mark's wife found him slumped at the table, whispering, "Maybe it cannot be done." But each time he saw David's trusting eyes, he found the will to continue. He also created his own therapy. Every night, 2 hours without fail, he lay beside his son and read stories. His voice carried love, his touch carried warmth, his presence carried hope. Slowly, David began to respond. He smiled when Mark read. His eyes lit up when his father touched him. A bond was forming, stronger than silence. The years that followed were relentless. Mark never missed a night with his son. He once turned down a major business deal because it required weeks away from home. Colleagues thought he was foolish, but he knew no success was worth more than his son's future. The experimental device failed many times. Repairs drained their savings. There were nights when despair filled the house, but love pulled them through. Doctors added auditory therapy, and one afternoon, while wearing a new prototype, David turned his head when his name was called. Mark fell to his knees in tears. For the first time, his son had heard him. His wife embraced them both, whispering, "Our dream is alive." As David grew older, the impossible became reality. The boy once destined for silence grew into a man determined to give others the same gift he had received. He studied technology and business with relentless passion. Inspired by his father, David founded a company that created affordable hearing devices for people with disabilities. His products gave thousands the chance to hear for the first time. At one demonstration, a little girl put on one of his devices. When her mother softly called her name, the girl froze. Then she burst into tears and ran into her mother's arms. The room wept, and David stood silently, remembering the nights his father never gave up. This story is not only about a boy who learned to hear. It is about the relentless love of a father who refused to surrender to despair. It is about persistence in the face of hopelessness, and the power of sacrifice for the people we love. Mark proved that being a father is not only about giving life. It is about protecting it, shaping it, and believing in it when no one else dares to. So what about you? Life will give you reasons to quit, and people will tell you your dreams are impossible. But if you love deeply and persist fiercely, you can change destinies. Never give up on your loved ones. Never give up on your dreams. If this story touched your heart, subscribe to this channel, share it with someone who needs hope today, and let us spread the truth that love and perseverance can overcome anything.